this. But so we've got Kacia Fitzgerald here, guys, 9-star diamond coach, soon to be a little bit more than that with her team. They've got some big goals, big plans. 3-time elite, right? I almost said 4.
Yeah. Close to 4, almost 4.
Close to 4-time elite. And one of the best leaders you'll meet, but one of the most crazy, down-to-earth, and exciting people you ever find. And I mean that. I don't think she's ever lacking energy. So I'm excited to have her come on and share some of her insights, some of her trainings with you guys today. Kacia, these mastermind groups, we started them up when we kind of shifted things in the Northeast region a bit. One of the main topics they wanted to discuss is how do I get my coaches to build? How do I get my existing team members to take that next step in leadership? And you've done a phenomenal job with that with your team and leveraging part of the presentation you shared at last year's leadership conference. I know Chris was there. And I'm trying to see if anyone else was, but for those that were at leadership last year, Kacia shared a training that kind of took the network by storm a little bit, actually. And it was about the power of part-time coaching and leveraging that with your new clients, your potential coaches. And so she's going to share a little bit about that today, but also how to leverage that with your existing coaches on your team. And hopefully that will help not address any of the issues per se, but give you some ideas of how you can really get your existing team members to go and to build. And she's one of the best, and she's actually going to be training at Summit next week as a Summit speaker too. So no pressure there.
So excited.
She just, for the record, the most important part about her, she just completed a cross-country move from Manhattan, New York to Seattle, Washington area. Now, and she went down to Arizona. She probably went down to Mexico. Who knows what she did. So I appreciate you taking time out of your busy schedule, hold up in your friend's place until you guys get things settled after Summit. So thank you for taking time with this, Kacia.
Yeah, I'm so excited, you guys. Thank you, Jeff, for asking me to do this training. And I really just want to provide as much value as I possibly can. But I do think what's really interesting is the timing of, I spoke at leadership, like Jeff just mentioned, about the power of part-time coaching. And it was honestly because of this little transition that I made in my business. So let me give a tiny little backstory just to kind of set the stage of why I do this, and then give you guys kind of what I'm doing with my team that's working right now, that's making this business really fun and fulfilling, but also helping me help my coaches generate income and, fall in love with the business so they'll stay here, right? So backstory is I started this business with no intention to ever build a business like most people that I bring into the business do. I wanted to work on myself first. I signed up as a discount coach. And my upline coach has a really different story than mine. She had her back against the wall. She really needed to make this work. Her family had filed for bankruptcy. She just had this really amazing, powerful story. But I actually had a career path that I loved. And I had a job with a lot of career trajectory. I wasn't lacking in terms of wanting like the financial opportunity with this. I really didn't see Beachbody that way. But I did see this as a platform for me to kind of fill this void that I had in terms of wanting more impact. So I started this when I did finally decide to start building this business. It was really under the pretense that this was going to be a fun side hobby for me. I wasn't going to build this into, a large scale business that would then go on to support both my boyfriend and I or leave the corporate world. That wasn't my intention. So because of that, I know that a lot of coaches that I bring into the business come in a similar way that I did, right? Which was maybe a little bit skeptical of Beachbody being a real business opportunity, but open-minded for it being a side business opportunity, which is why I do lead with part-time coaching a lot more than just the full-time opportunity. So fast forward, went to Summit, kind of saw the bigger vision of what this could be for me and decided to really put my foot on the pedal, full speed ahead to kind of build this into a pretty substantial business. And I left the corporate world about 14 months after I started my first challenge group. And I was working at Google at the time. So I've been full-time coaching since, April of 2015, but actively building my business since January of 2014. So pretty quick, but I've been in this full-time world for a while now. And what I found is as I started to progress in my business, I was getting really, really excited because I was invested in this business. I had left the corporate world. I saw the bigger picture of what this could be. And to be honest, like I felt myself getting kind of frustrated because I saw all of these people that I was talking to that were challengers or even, discount coaches that I saw so much potential in them, but they couldn't make the leap from discount coach to this could be a full-time business opportunity. So I didn't understand why they weren't willing to put in the work like I was to build this into a full-time opportunity. But I also didn't think about the fact that I couldn't make that leap, right? So a lot of times we're talking about the business opportunity, but the real foundation of how I found a lot of my builders and encouraged my coaches to build and build substantial businesses for themselves is I helped them fall in love with the process rather than just what the process produces. Because honestly, if I didn't love coaching and I didn't love this as a part-time thing, I would have never been around long enough to build up that confidence muscle to want to do this, to have this become something that was integrated in my life so that I could then go on and build it into a much bigger platform that it is for me today. So, part of the reason that I lead with part-time coaching is simply just because I want to attract more people into the business, help them fall in love with the business, and then, guide them in the direction so that they can increase the amount of work that they're putting in based off what their goals are. But if you think about it, most people don't come into this business and want to build a substantial business and then hit the ground running with no speed bumps. I don't even think I can think of a story like that, right? So what I do to attract business builders, like I want to give you guys some tangible things and then I will answer any questions that I can to help in any way. But what I do is I'm often talking about my business story from when I first started coaching and that I didn't think that this was a real opportunity. I'm really leading with the business because part of it is I want my current challengers who are my next coaches to see me publicly talking about the business and talking about my skepticism and talking about kind of my own business journey with this of not wanting to build a business, being very fearful of building a business, and then how it kind of has progressed with me. I'm talking about that initial story, which was actually like 4 years ago, rather than just this full-time lifestyle that I've had for the last 3 years. I'm talking about me 4 years ago, a lot more than I'm talking about me now in my business journey, because that's going to build more connective tissue with the people that I'm already connected to. So those types of posts are mostly for people that are current challengers that I think will then become coaches, and also for my existing team to see kind of how this has progressed for me so that they can visualize themselves in that role too, right? So that's one thing that I'm doing is I'm talking frequently about the business, which I know is not rocket science for any of you guys. I know a lot of you guys are probably doing that already, but so often I hear from coaches that they're fearful to talk about the business because they don't think that they're credible yet. And I actually think quite the opposite. I found that it's so much more successful in terms of recruiting, like as a recruiting tactic, to talk about earning $100 to $500 a week than it is to talk about thousands of dollars a week or something like that, right? From an income perspective. So I'm constantly encouraging my coaches to share those first initial milestones and creating that culture within my team page, within our business team pages, of talking about income and talking about the business opportunity and celebrating really awesome business related posts and encouraging my coaches to not just have their fitness journey, because I find that a lot of times coaches aren't as nervous to talk about their fitness journey as they are to talk about their business journey, right? So I'm making sure that I'm encouraging them to do both of those things, right? Business journey and fitness journey, and making sure that they understand like that it's equally important. When I'm signing up someone to be in my challenge group, I'm giving the option of both coaching and of both coaching and challenger at the same, like right when they're signing up, right? So I'm like, all right, girl, I'm so excited for you for whatever reason they want to join this group. You can sign up as a coach member or you can sign up as a challenger member. Either way, you're going to be treated exactly the same in the challenge group. But then you have the opportunity to earn a discount on products moving forward. Or, hey, you know what? I think you might even kill it building a side business with this in the future, but we won't even worry about that yet. Let's just get you plugged into the challenge group. So I'm teaching my coaches to use that verbiage too. to give them both options straight out the gates always, simply because I want to get them in the door. And part of the reason is because of my past experience where, like I mentioned to you guys at the beginning, I signed up as a discount coach. I did not connect with my upline story at all. Loved her, but didn't connect with her story. I guarantee you I would never have started building a business had I not been added into her team page as a discount coach to then do what so many people do, right? And like creep on all of the posts in the page and see that this was a bigger opportunity. So number one, like the tangible takeaway of how I'm implementing that with my team is I'm having them talk about their fitness story, but I'm also having them talk about their business story. We're creating a culture where we talk about small income milestones. So like first paychecks, first $100 paycheck, like those smaller milestones that are putting huge deposits in these new coaches' confidence buckets. And then they're then duplicating that with their team too, right? So small income wins, business and fitness story. And then in addition, I'm training my team to give both options straight out the gates, because it's interesting. A lot of times I find that with my newer coaches, they're nervous to give the option of the business opportunity or of coaching in general, because they feel, again, like they're not credible or they haven't been here long enough to give that opportunity. But if it's just standard procedure from their lens that we give both options, then that's just what they do, right? That's how you sign someone up. Hey, do you want to go the coach member or do you want to go the challenger member? Either way, you're treated the same in the challenge group. Here's what the coach member looks like. 25% discount moving forward. You're part of our team community. And also encouraging them to early plant that seed of, hey, this could also be a really cool, awesome side thing for you. We won't worry about that right now, but in the future, it's an option as well. What do you think is best for you, right? So I'm teaching my coaches to do that straight out the gates too. So I think that's really powerful because, like I said, had I not been added into my coach's team page, I would not have seen this community, and I know that I wouldn't be here today. So I'm so grateful that she offered me that discount opportunity, even though I told her I never wanted to build a business. And so one tweak that I didn't realize that I did this at first until I was looking back in hindsight is of why I've had discount coaches that 6 months later decide that they want to build a business and then actually show up and hit Success Club, is because I've made that part of the culture where it's like you get added into our team page, whether you're a discount coach or you want to build a business, you're added into our team page without a label. So it's not like, I've talked to some coaches who don't add discount coaches at all. And I'm like, what a missed opportunity, because I would have never known that I could actually do this. I would have never seen the potential, right? And I have a lot of coaches that I've talked to that add coaches into their team and label them as a discount coach. And sometimes because they don't understand the structure of this business, that like a coach is a coach, even if we tell them, they decide, because we're feeding them that information and reinforcing it, that they're going to stay in the discount lane. Like they can't switch lanes, right? So we've done a really good job, I think, on our team of creating this culture where like you can start out as a discount coach. In fact, most people do. And then you can build this into a side business. And as you fall in love with that process, it could turn into something bigger. So a couple other little like tidbits I wanted to give you guys that might be helpful. And then, like I said, whatever you guys want to talk about. So another thing that I do that's working really well in terms of helping my coaches duplicate this and attract business builders is I'm teaching them to use other people's stories as tools in their toolbox. So for example, when they're listening to a national wake-up call, when they're listening to a training at Summit, other challengers, other coaches that do our team calls, I'm having them get really intentional about focusing on that first little tidbit of what that coach's story is, of why they started and why they're here now. And we actually framed our team calls this way, where we spend a lot of like the first 10 minutes of our team call is really talking about that person's story, because I want all of the coaches listening to that call to know that person's backstory of why they started, so that when they're in a conversation in a private message with someone, they have that as a tool, right? For example, I'm not a human mom. I have a dog. I don't know why I said it that way, but I'm not a mom. But I have a lot of coaches that I've mentored who are moms, right? Tons of coaches on my team are moms, or have built this business through pregnancy, or have our military wives. That's not my story, but because I've made it very intentional that I focus on collecting people's stories, and then I teach my team to do the same thing. That makes them feel empowered of like, yes, I'm not a military wife, but when I'm talking to a military wife on Instagram, I can say to her with so much confidence, hey girl, I know that I don't have the same story as you. I'm not a military wife. I can't even imagine what it's like to be in your shoes, but I will tell you there are other coaches on our team that have been really successful and found a lot of fulfillment of getting to connect with other people as they're moving all across the country because they're military wives too. And I found that not only does that help me a lot in my business, but it actually empowers these new coaches who feel a little bit paralyzed by fear of what they don't know to actually move forward and take more action because they're getting really intentional about collecting these stories that they can use to build connective tissue in a private message. So in addition to that, I also want them to talk about other people that are building this business publicly, right? Especially people that are building this as a part-time business because they need to see that that's a real thing, right? It's a real opportunity as a part-time business. So on the same thing in terms of collecting stories to use that as a tool for a private message, I also am telling them to use that as a tool for a public connection. So for example, if I was on this training call or if I had a new coach on this training call, in our training and on our team calls, we talk often about the power of using someone's story. So one of my new coaches on a call like this would probably take a screenshot of me speaking and would say something about training. And they would say, ex-corporate hustler, 20-something, built this business full-time. Like, so cool to learn from other coaches in the network. They would use my story or whoever the speaker was, right? That person's story to show another example of someone who's building this business. So it's showing a very diverse group of people can build this business with all sorts of different backgrounds. Because even though we maybe connect with them on one connection point, that could be the final thing that makes them want to reach out to you because they're following you on social media. An example of this is I'm not a nurse and I don't have a nursing background. My background's in project management and engineering recruiting. But I have two coaches that are diamond rank coaches that are nurses, and that's their background. And so when I'm doing a one-on-one call, or if we have like a small group call, I'll actually put a little blurb on my Instagram story of what that person's story is, right? So like full-time nurse, builds this business on the side to pay off student loans. Like full-time whatever, mom of two. Like I'm just giving them like a basic little tidbit title. And what I'm finding is a lot of coaches and a lot of coaches feel more confident having those stories, like I mentioned, but also it's building, again, connective tissue for me with my following on social media because they know that I mentor people that don't have a background in project management, that have a background in nursing, and maybe they're a nurse too. And I've actually signed up a nurse coach from posting about nursing from this girl responding to my story of me doing a one-on-one call with my current coach. She was like, oh, you have people that do this that are also nurses. And then I started that conversation with her from her responding to my Instagram story. So I think it's a really underused tool of sharing other people's story. And I think it really ties in well with part-time coaching because you can explain ways that this could serve someone else without having to just write out huge Facebook posts, right? Like it's an easy way to do it on Instagram stories. So like Jeff said, I'm speaking at Summit next week and I'm speaking with Jamie Fitzpatrick, and he could not have a more different story than me. He has a background in business. He has 2 kids. He's about 10 years older than me. Very different story. Obviously he's a male, I'm a female. So we have a lot of differences, but I've found that it's really cool for me to be able to share his story and through my lens. How cool is this going to be when I have 2 kids and, my kids get to see me as Jamie's kids get to see him? It's like putting that connective tissue with your audience so that they can relate more to you. So one other thing on this that I really wanted to touch on that I think is really cool, that I just had a call with some of the diamonds in our downline, and we were talking about Lift 4 and how awesome this is for people that come into this business actually wanting to do this as a part-time business, right? Lift 4, as we know, it's 4 days a week. Imagine the power that comes from developing a challenge group, whether you do it through the app or you do it through Facebook, that really is designed around 4 days a week of checking into your challenge groups, right? Or maybe even 5 days a week, but not every single day checking into your challenge groups. That again gives people permission to have a day off. And I think back in 2014, when I first started coaching, there was this like feeling in the network that it was like, you have to do this every single day, show up every single day. I think that sometimes when people miss a day, like you guys know this, like you guys have all been coaches for a while too. It's like when someone misses a day, they get this feeling of like, can I really do this? Am I cut out for this? Oh, like I missed a day. Let me just throw in the whole week. But if we can frame it in a way using Lift 4, redeveloping challenge groups, or even redeveloping trainings that's catering more towards people that build this in a part-time standpoint, coaches feel like they're getting that confidence deposit every single week they show up, because the expectations aren't 100% of the time I'm going to do these daily vital behaviors or non-negotiables, but I'm going to do this 5 days a week. I'm going to bring my A game. Then all of a sudden that confidence, right? Like we know how that's built, deposit week after week after week. And as they get more confident, they get more authentic on social media. When they're more authentic, more people connect with them. Those conversations get easier. Objections get easier, right? So if we can frame it that we're not overtraining our coaches or having these expectations that people are going to show up every single day, even if we do. That was the biggest game changer for me, where I was like, wait a second. I believe in this business. And for me, I'm just going to be really honest with you guys. You know, my boyfriend was going through NYU dental school. I was completely financially supporting both of us in downtown New York City. Like, I love this business. You couldn't pay me to leave. I believe it's like part of my mission as a person here to be doing something with this as a platform. But why would I have the expectations of a brand new coach to show up the way that I'm showing up just because I have that belief, right? So I can show up every single day, but I'm going to decide how I implement trainings and tools that I'm giving my team to frame it in a way where, like, it's okay if you don't show up every single day. Guess what? You can still be uber successful. The amount of effort and, you know, how high your success club points are, that's more people you're bringing into the business, whatever it is. If they have bigger goals, obviously their goals have to match their effort. But if it's framed in a part-time standpoint, I found that coaches have more fun and join the process, and then in turn, they stay. And if they stay, even if they show up part-time, I would rather 1,000,000 times over, and I'm sure all of you guys would probably agree with this statement, I would rather have a coach who's happy and fulfilled and excited that hits Success Club 10 every single month than someone who's burnt out, feeling like Hot Mess Express every other week, wants to quit, who hits 50 and then 4, and then 50 and then 4, and is like doing their business like this, and sometimes they're in and sometimes they're out. So what can we do as leaders of organizations who do have the bigger vision enough that we're on a training call like this or listening to this recording? What can we do to ask ourselves the question, is this actually duplicatable for someone who doesn't have our passion or our commitment yet? And that's where I think part-time comes into play. If you have that in the back of your head, that people might not be as invested as you are yet, but let's give them a layup to build that confidence so that they can then have passion too, and let that build over time, right? I don't know. So that's kind of why I do what I do in this regard. And I can give you guys more examples, but I just want to let me know kind of the direction you want me to go with that concept.
No, that's good. I think it goes over kind of the reason behind you take the approach and some of the results you've seen from it. I know I've got some notes here that I'll hit you with here in a second. But any of the coaches on here, any questions for Kate on what she shared that you'd like to hit her with? If not, you have to hear mine. There's no wrong questions with her. That's for sure. So let me ask you this, Kate. Obviously, you have the different approaches of this business, whether it's, you know, what did you mention? You called it being a coach member or a challenger, right? You approach it with that. For your new people that come on as a challenger, okay, in that realm, are you doing things within the group that you haven't mentioned, you know, sharing the success story, talking about the business and fitness story? Are you working individually with some of these people, whether it's through a call or a follow-up, to kind of help encourage them towards coaching at all? Or are there other behind-the-scenes things that are happening there?
Yeah. So one thing that I do in challenge groups, which I think this is, you know, a lot of us probably do this, and I encourage my coaches to do this too, is like I go the private message route of directly sending a message to that person a couple of days in that's like, whoa, like you are showing up, the people that are showing up in the challenge group, like we know who those people are that are going to be killer coaches. Like I'm telling them in a private message that I think that they would be awesome and why I think they would be awesome. And then teaching my coaches to do the same thing just to at least plant the seed. And then we actually have a post. When I used to do 3-week groups, and I recently just changed the structure of how I'm doing groups. But with 3-week groups, I would publicly have a post that was posted in the challenge group that gave them a couple of different options of what they could do moving forward, which is like, 1, you want to stay in this group and continue on with a different program. Number 2, do you want to sign up as a coach member to receive a 25% discount? Number 3, do you want to learn more about options of how you can build a business moving forward? I actually frame it side business moving forward. Or number 4, do you want to gracefully bow out? And like people will comment below that and they'll say why they're excited. And it's like all of a sudden you're seeing new coach, like, oh, I'm interested in coaching. I'm interested in coaching. And you're finding that people, it's like a subtle way to invite everyone in the group. If you have it, if they haven't already talked to you about it in a private message. And then the thing that we're recently just doing is I'm actually framing my challenge groups to cater again more towards that part-time mindset where every single day they're checking in with their fitness in terms of like, whatever workout they're doing, or if they're doing 2B mindset, we're talking about nutrition and fitness daily. They're just checking into a daily post. But every single week, there's 3 different challenges that they can do on their own time. So what's cool about that is it's basically the way that I think about it is challengers are my future Star Diamond coaches. So they have to be able to see that they could do this with their life, right? I remember when I was in a challenge group, I was with my upline coach, I was thinking, what does she actually like do to do this, like to support her family? Because it doesn't seem like she's doing that much in the challenge group. She was only checking in twice a day. And I remember in my head thinking, if she can do this, like, and she's only doing it twice a day, I could probably do this too. So it's a very subtle structure element that I'm finding a lot of coaches feel they can do it too because they see how I am in the challenge groups. Mm-hmm. And so instead of checking in 5 times a day all day long, just because I've been a full-time coach for 3 years, I could theoretically do that, right? I could pop into my challenge groups every hour, I guess, if I wanted to. But I'm purposely only doing it twice a day just to set the standards because I know that my current challengers that I'm talking to in a private message, as well as in a public post, as well as in my social media and my Instagram stories, they know that I'm a coach, but they need to see not only other people's stories, but they need to actually visualize, okay, Kacia does this full time, but she's only checking into this group in the morning and at night. I could do that with my 60-hour-a-week Google work week, right? And that's what I did when I was a challenger, is I was able to visualize this as a part-time thing. I was not able to visualize this as a full-time thing, partially because I didn't connect with my upline story and partially because I didn't think it was like a real thing, right? So every time that I can, think about it from the lens of me when I started 4 years ago, who really didn't think this was ever going to be a full-time opportunity, and rearrange like the structure element so that it's easier to bring coaches on board. I'm going to do that, right? Because I want to give them as quickly as possible a layup. One more thing from a structural standpoint is it's like just what we do is you go Emerald and you hit Success Club your first month. I don't overcomplicate that whatsoever. In fact, I'm honestly thinking about how to make it even more just like that's what you do. That's how you open your doors for business. But the way that Emerald is talked about is the same way, right? Like, okay, if you want to open your doors for business, how you can start to take advantage of the income model with Beachbody, and signifying to your upline, signifying to people that are following you on social media, and to Beachbody in general, is you got to open your doors for business. If you had a franchise, you'd have to invest money into this. As an Emerald rank coach, you're just having 2 people that sign up for the discount, or if they want to build a business, and kind of just setting that standard and the culture that's like everybody that wants to build a business, you go Emerald and you sign 3 people up the way that you signed up, and kind of just making that the norm. Does everyone do it? Of course not, right? I wish. That would be amazing.
Say that last part again with the culture that you create with helping people get Emerald and then helping those people what? Say that one more time.
Hit Success Club and just signing like 3 people up the way that they signed up.
Cool.
But hitting Emerald is just part of how, like, in my mind, and I explain it this way even on team calls, where it's like if you're not an Emerald rank coach, you haven't opened your doors for business yet, which is totally fine, but you're taken more seriously once you started, right?
For sure. I've got another question. Any questions come up from the group? I just want to make sure. Denise looks like she's got one from the car, nonetheless, from the car.
Trying to put my phone where, whatever. Okay, I'll hold it. So, Kacia,
Hi.
you're on fire. That is amazing information. I have a quick question though. Do you still do like coach basic trainings or like fast tracks to Emerald?
So I do a coach training, and it's a 5-day coach training. And then after the 5 days, they have to be an Emerald rank coach to join the next level of training. And I'm actually going to probably redo that in the next couple of weeks to make it even simpler. But the concept behind it is I just don't want to encourage analysis paralysis where people are just soaking up all of this information. So it's really, really straightforward that your month 1 goals as a coach are you're going to hit Success Club, you can do this training, and you're going to go Emerald. That's just what you do to open your doors, but you could do it in 1 day, right? So like I'm just emphasizing the ease of Emerald where I'm like, yeah, you can go Emerald in 1 day. I don't like Emerald building groups or Emerald push groups because I don't think it should be a push. I think if I can help them make a list of 100 people that they think could benefit in some capacity, 2 people are going to sign up, right? Especially if one's a spouse. That's like a given. So I don't do Emerald trainings. And I think as soon as I do redo my training, it's going to be like a 1, 2, 3 go. Like post your story. This is how you sign someone up. And then once they're Emerald, they can go on to more advanced trainings. But they're not even allowed into the second round of training until they're an Emerald rank coach.
Thank you. Thank you so much. I'm trying to find a way to simplify it, and that just makes so much sense.
Oh, good. Glad to hear that.
And Denise, great results from Lift 4, by the way. Look at those guns.
Hey, girl.
Good question. Thanks for asking that. Jess from upstate New York. Okay, rocking it. So she asked in the chat, so she says, Kacia, I have coaches who will help 1 or 2 their first month and coaches that will hit SC4. But they just won't go for SC6 and above. They say they want Emerald or Diamond, and I know I need to recruit more. I won't drag people along. How do you still encourage those coaches to hit their goals without feeling like you're forcing them?
Yes, I love that question. So the conversation that I have frequently is I'm kind of weird and like all over the place, but I'm also really straightforward where it's like, okay, this is what you said your goals are. This is what you're producing. Something has to change. Which one do you want to change? I mean, it's really that basic where it's like, hey, I'm here to help you as like, I want to be your friend, but also like you signed up with me because you wanted me to help you build your business. I don't feel like I'm doing my job or serving you the best way that I know how if I don't just be really honest with you. And like you're telling me that you want this to be a second stream of income for your family, to pay for your kid to go through daycare, to, eventually be your full-time job. Well, like I can't just watch you put this amount of effort in if that's your goal. If you want to change your goal, hell yeah, let's change your goal. Like I want you to be happy, fulfilled, and excited. We can change your goal, and then your effort's fine. But if your goal is here, your effort's got to be here. So what can we do to get you there? Should we make a game plan? Or do you have enough pockets of time that you're productively working on your business to move your business forward? Or is there something that we need to tweak? And then what I'll actually do is so I will tell you 90% of the time when I say that, and I actually am like on a video call or on a voice message, like on Facebook or something, if I can visualize this, like, do you want to change your goal or do you want to change your effort? Which one? 90% of the time they're going to say that they want to change their effort themselves. But I want them to say that because I'm not going to push them because I only have so much energy in my tank. I'm going to give it to the people that want to work the business, right? So I'll ask that question. And then what I'll do, it's like if they say that they want to increase their effort, it's normally coming from fear or analysis paralysis, like they're just trying to do too many trainings, or it's coming from them not being productive in the only amount of chunks of time that they have, where they've determined that they're building a business or they're working, but they're actually doing business related activities or they're scrolling, right? So what I'll do is I'll be like, okay, let's take 10 minutes. And this is so worth my 10 minutes, right? Where I'm like, okay, give me your day in the life. Let's actually go through your schedule. when are you doing your workouts? Like I'm helping them actually make out a schedule. So I'm like, we need to put your workouts on first, because if you don't take care of yourself, you're never going to be successful in this business long-term. And I want you to be successful. So number one, your workouts, your personal development, because I don't care about the rest of it. If you're not happy, good luck. Right. So that's getting plugged in first. And then I'm also having them plug in their family time. Like when are you really, really present where your phone's in another room? Because let's put that on there too. And then from there, I'm like, okay, what are the things we actually need to do to build your business? Number one, you need to actually invite people to join you, right? So there's two components that go into that. You need to add people to your network so that you have people to invite. And then you need to start the conversation so you can start building those relationships so you can invite those people. So I'm actually breaking down with them. When are you going to find those people? How are you going to start those conversations? And then when are you going to invite them? And then I also tell them that 90% of my challenge pack sales come from a follow-up. So I expect that they're going to say no, because the biggest thing I'm going to get from new coaches is like, no one's saying yes, or I posted on Facebook and no one wants to join my group, right? So I'm telling them, me, 4 years in, multiple six-figure business from this has to do follow-ups, right? Like I'm like, everyone does follow-ups. That's where the magic is. I really do believe that 90% of my challenge packs come from that. So that almost just like nips in the bud the excuse that they have, because we're proactively blocking out the follow-up time. So I'm actually just sitting down and being like, okay, when are we going to block this out? And especially if they have a family or they're a little bit like hot mess express, I want to encourage them to have like time unplugged, that they're really, really present. And I'm like, I promise you, I say this all the time. I literally just had this call, so I'm like basically doing the same call. But I'm like, I promise you, no one's going to die if you don't message someone back with a challenge pack link. And if they do go to someone else, they're not your person. We got to get rid of that scarcity mindset. If you're at your son's play, be at your son's play. No one's going to die if you don't send them a link, because I don't want them to build a business that they can't be at their son's play. Because guess what? Maybe they hit Success Club 20 that month. They're not here month 3 because they're burned out and they don't have balance. Or their husband's like, Mary, you can't do this because you're never present. Just my experience.
No, and actually, that's what you guys know this with husbands, but that's what we sound like. So that's good.
Yeah. I mean, I don't have a husband, but my boyfriend sounds like that. No, I'm just kidding. Yeah. So hopefully that's helpful. I honestly, just a direct question is the best advice I've got on that one.
No, good question. Other questions from the group, but I've got another one for you coming, but let me ask you this, Case. I know you've kind of hit on it a little bit, but a lot of coaches on here been doing this for years now. I mean, I look at Chris Dale Street. Chris, you've been doing this 6+, right? 8, 9. Okay, so.
Oh, Chris, awesome.
I know, she's a wily vet. And
it's
others
not that awesome. It's not that awesome.
Well, you're here and you're showing up. That's cool.
Well, consistency helps, but I need to move forward, and that's the struggle right now.
What is the struggle? Like, what do you feel like is the pain point?
I feel like I'm not building leaders. I've been in this long enough, and why am I not building leaders? And that is probably the biggest frustration right now. It's like they get so far, and then they fall back, and I'm consistent all the time. I don't understand why not everybody else is. So that's the hard part. And like, I love the point that you said. You said these are your goals, but where's your effort? And so that's a big thing to point out to them.
Do you, just a question, because like whenever I talk to coaches that have been in this for a long time and like seen a lot of success, those are coaches that I really admire, just because consistency over time like that is like something I really admire. So cheers to you, first of all.
Thank you.
The other point is like, do you feel like the initial story of like why you started building the business is something that you're still talking about? Because like, you might seem really far out of reach from a brand new coach that maybe they're like, oh, well, she's been doing, like, Chris has been doing this for so long. She's had so much success. She doesn't understand my day one struggles. Like, I'm trying to think if there's like anything that I would think of, like being with that much tenure in the business, like why you first started. Did you start as a discount coach?
Yep. Yeah. And I said, leave me alone. I'm done in 3 months. And then then it just kind of went from there. And so you're right. I don't really talk about the story part of where I started that much. I don't put that out there that much at all.
I think that would be really, like, if I was following you on social media and I was like, oh, I want to do this, but like she's seen success because she's been here for a really long time. Oh, like I'll get there when I've been there for 8 years. Maybe that would be something that you could start to like incorporate in your social media stuff that could help even those coaches, or like talking about that initial stage, or even, sorry, I just thought of one more idea. I know you're not really asking. I just kind of plugged a question. But another thing is like maybe if, you know, on team calls and stuff, if you're having the coaches talk about like the first 6 months or year struggle part, because like everyone's going to have struggles, but they might see you as this person who has your ish together, right? Like even if they see that you've been here for 9 years, or like you're in really great shape, you have a successful business, you're happy and excited about it, they might think that you don't understand what it's like to be them the first year, you know?
Yeah, it's a great question, great point. It actually tied into the question I was going to ask you. Let me add this to everybody on this call, including Kacia and Chris. I don't think that you guys, and those that are going to watch this recording, I don't think you realize just how, without making you feel prideful and everything, how high up you are as a coach and as an entrepreneur, how experienced and just frankly good you are at this. Now you probably beat yourself up a ton, which is a good thing in some ways, right? It's how we get better and challenge ourselves. But whether you are a brand new 3-star or you've been a 3-star, 8-star for however long, like these new coaches on your team or your new discount coaches or your new challengers, you are the business. You are up there. And something I always try to share with leaders, and Casey's gonna be like, dude, you talk about that all the time, quit talking about it. But it's true, is as you are talking to people or you're working with your challengers or you're looking for you, don't look for you now, okay? Because you guys are phenomenal leaders and entrepreneurs that most of the planet doesn't even know how to be an entrepreneur, right? And we're still learning too. But look for you 8 years ago. Look for you 3 years ago when you got started. And look for you in that first 6 months. Those are the people that are going to be your runners, by personal opinion. And I would say that you probably got some people on your existing team that could be a runner as well. But again, they're just not up to your playing field yet. Not to make you prideful, mostly, you get what I mean there. But just remember, you guys are on the upper echelon of leadership, and it's hard for new people to connect with that all the time. So thoughts, I just wanted to add that.
I love that.
I want to ask you a question, okay?
Yeah.
So give us, because here's the thing, Kacia's really good about finding new coaches, retention with her leaders. Like she's got a great retention rate for you to look at it. What are your maybe top 1 or 2 strategies or tactics for getting kind of your long tenured coaches, your lifers that are on your team, and they're maintaining, they're managing their business, but to get them to the point where they're actively building and growing or pushing again?
So it's interesting because I feel like this is always like something I'm trying to figure out as I progress. And a lot of my team, in terms of like the age and demographic of a lot of my Star Diamond coaches, like my original 9 first diamonds, 8 of them are still here in Star Diamond coaches and have been for almost 4 years. Like we started 9-star qualification in my first business center, my first like year and a couple months, and only one of them has left, and she just left 6 months ago. And so I thought a lot about that. I'm like, some of them are, all of them are still actively building. Some of them have like gone on to build crazy incomes. And I think it's just, I'm really, really focused on figuring out what it is that they want next, like that's going to drive them, and then putting them with other people that's not just me to help push them forward. So for example, we just started this mastermind group where I had everyone fill out a survey. And this actually took a little bit of time on my end, but I really liked doing it, where I put them all in groups where they have certain standards of like points. So for example, like if you sign up 2 coaches, your team gets 50 points, maximum 50 points per person. Everyone on your team has to hit Success Club. You guys get 100 points. And they're like competing against each other, like team cup style. So I'm constantly trying to think of like creative ways to keep those leaders engaged too, so that they're wanting to push. And so many of our coaches on our team. Have you guys heard of the Gretchen Rubin, the personality, like obligers or upholders, the 4 personality tendencies? Have you guys heard of that at all? Some of you are nodding your heads. Okay. So whatever, there's 4 tendencies. And one of them is obliger. And I had like a bunch of girls on our team take this quiz, and like 85% of our team is obligers, which means that they're more willing to do things for external, like for other people than for themselves. And I think most people in general are obligers. So by putting them in an environment where someone else is also counting on them, that's not just me because I'm their upline coach, that's been really successful for us. So throughout the course of the last 4 years, 4.5 years that I've been coaching, I've done that in different capacities, which has kept the retention really high because they're not just building a relationship with me, but they're building a relationship with these other like peers. They're like sister coaches, right, at the same stage in their business. So they're all rising together because no one wants to be like the weakest link, essentially, right? So that has helped a ton. And I wasn't able to identify that until I just recently did this again with this mastermind goal where I'm seeing my coaches, that are earning substantial paychecks, that are Star Diamond coaches, that are together, and now they're all pushing forward. And that's been a lot more effective than me trying to one-on-one figure out how to mentor all of them. So small groups would be my part 1 answer. Part 2 is understanding why they're here now. And I think a lot of times as leaders, we get into this business, and obviously we all know this, we've been here for a while, like that your why constantly evolves. But like I have to have a goal. Otherwise I get really weird and kind of complacent. So I have to have something that I'm pushing forward towards. And I also have to communicate that to my team because I want them to see me pushing forward too, so that they're encouraged to do that as well. So for example, our team has been pushing for 15-star for a while, and we dropped.
I think you just threw up a little bit when you said that.
Yeah, I actually did. I literally just like gagged in my mouth. We hit 15-star qualification. We dropped during qualification. I was very open with my team about the process and kind of like how I was going to like keep pushing, and that I want to be this leader that keeps showing up. We were 1 coach away from 15-star again for 3 weeks in a row from a coach who's not actively really building the business. And I mean, hands down, hardest season of my business. It was literally a month and a half ago. But I'll tell you what I did learn from this that might be helpful is I saw 2 coaches on my team who were emerald coaches, as in they had 3 active coaches, right? 2 of them went diamond within the course of like 12 days. The one coach that, because I have, you guys know, like you need 5 on each side for 15-star. I have 4 on one side, and I've always had like 10 to 13 on the other side. So like we've been 9-star for a long time, but I needed that one particular coach on a strong leg to go diamond. And what I learned from this, that I am so grateful for this lesson, even though I learned it the really hard way, is 1 coach away from someone who doesn't want it is not closer than a coach who wants it that's 10 coaches away. 2 girls went diamond from 3 coaches who were not even, one of them had only hit Success Club 1 month, went diamond within 12 days versus this one coach who literally actually has people in her inbox, but like just didn't get around to signing them up, right? So as a leader, that was being just really, really honest. That was extremely frustrating for me. And like Chris just mentioned, like I show up so consistently. I see the bigger picture. I see this girl's potential, all of that. But I had to flip the script back on myself. And I'm like, there is something that I'm supposed to learn from this journey. And it's that I cannot, no matter how close they are. Literally, one of her coaches had 38 PV for 2 weeks in a row, and she was the only coach that we needed for going 15-star, right? You absolutely cannot want it more than someone else does. They will not show up if they don't want it for themselves. Because even if she did go diamond, she would have dropped it during qualification, right? She would, because she didn't want it for herself. So I'm constantly going to look for the people that want to be here. And if I want my coaches to sign up coaches, I'm going to sign up coaches. If I want my coaches to hit Success Club, I'm going to hit Success Club. And every time that I catch myself, and I mean, I do this, like I'm just being really, really honest with you guys. When I catch myself wanting to point the finger at someone else, I'm consciously and just taking a huge slice of humble pie and I'm pointing the finger right back at myself and saying, really? You have this business that you love that provides you this lifestyle and fulfillment, and you're saying, why can't this coach hit Success Club 6, but you're at Success Club 8? Really? Who the hell do you think you are? And I say that to myself. And if I'm going to show up double, I expect them to do half or a third of what I'm doing. So I'm just going to show up more, and I'm going to find those people that do want to build this, because 2 of them had 3 coaches and went diamond in 12 days. And one of them had 1 coach, right? So that's the only, that's the real teachable moment I got from 15 Star. Really, honestly.
There's that fire.
Yeah.
Well, I think I can speak for everybody on this call that watches it. You and your team are definitely going to get there, and we're all going to cheer for you when it happens. So, guys, we've normally we do 30-minute calls. This has been really good. That's not on you, Kacia. It's just great content. So I appreciate you taking time. But before we wrap up, guys, any other questions for Kacia before she gets back to her fur baby, and figuring out where to live in San Diego?
Yeah, that's crucial too.
Okay. Well, listen, this has been great. We appreciate, Kacia, everything you've shared. Obviously, I think the world of you, and just
Thank you.
phenomenal job. So we'll see everybody next week in person. High-fiving, fist bumping, confetti throwing, whatever else we're doing at Summit. So, Kacia, thanks for jumping on. And, guys, if there's questions, thoughts, we'll drop it in the Mastermind page. I'll get this recording posted here later today. But thanks for jumping on, and stay safe next week.
Can I ask you a quick question?
Yes. Yeah, go, Tatiana.
Thank you so much for this. I'm glad I jumped on. It was awesome. But you don't have to answer this here if you have another video somewhere, but I'm really curious as to the things that you post in your coach group, and just some examples, because I feel like I need some inspiration on what to be sharing with them and leading them in that way, if that makes sense.
Yeah, in terms of challenges or just content in general, or?
Yeah, and just even, because I've done the whole thing where I agree so much with you that I want to work with the ones that with what they want, right? I'm not putting my goals on them. I want to work with and help them, obtain their goals. But anytime I've done that, and people are all gung ho, and then I don't know what happens. And yeah, I'm looking at myself. What did I do wrong? But I think there's also the other side of it too. So if you have any insight, or again, even if you have another call on that, I'd totally watch that.
Yeah. Will you shoot me a friend request, and I'll do one off too, and see
Thank you so much.
I'll drop you guys in a group chat so you can find each other easy.
Thank you.
Perfect. Thank you guys so much. Thank you, Jeff, for having me and making me wash my hair so early.
You know what? If there's one thing I know, it is that washing your hair does a lot. Okay.
You would know.
I would know.
All right. Bye, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thanks, Kacia. Thanks, guys. We'll see ya.
Bye.